Hi there team, Coach Alexa here. Today's video is a bit of a homage to a favourite pair of running shoes of mine. These are over 10 years old pair of Brooks Pure Grit trail shoes and they are fabulous. They fit me really well. I've had a huge amount of fun and adventures in these shoes, and they've been following a trajectory that all my running shoes tend to do, which is that they're running shoes, and when they're no longer suitable for that, they are walking shoes for sort of longer distance walks, then they are dog walking shoes, then they are garden shoes. And unfortunately, today the decision was made that these have now been relegated to garden shoes. Now, that actually makes me quite sad. I can't be the only one who forms a little bit of a bond somehow with their favourite running shoes. I certainly have a lot of good memories with these shoes, of races that I've done over the years, training runs, general kind of fun and adventures that they've shared with me, which is why I find it probably more difficult for this pair, having been around for quite so long, than many other pairs, of chucking them in the bin. Just to touch on a few things that I might look for in what I've seen in these shoes in terms of wear. Often what goes on my running shoes, the most common, is where you get the flex point at toe off, so where the ball of your feet flexes, and normally I'll get splitting of the fabric and disintegration of the sole around this area, and these have been pretty good. I mean, given their age, you can just start to see the fabric, different fabric types are starting to split from each other on the edges here. There is a point just here where the upper is starting to come away from the sole, but I mean, for a 10-year-old pair of shoes, they are doing incredibly well. A little bit of damage to the more lighter kind of trim areas of the upper. The inside of the shoe is looking really good. The heel is all intact. That's often the first area to go for me, but I am very aware of properly lacing and unlacing them when you take them on and off, and that makes a big difference to how long the heel lasts. The biggest reason though why they got, well, first of all, why they got relegated from running shoes to walking shoes is because the tread, the grippy areas of tread that makes them trail running shoes was worn down basically, so they effectively didn't have the grip that I needed for trail running, although these are a fairly lightweight pair of trail running shoes to start with. But what's been happening more recently, well, in fact, backstory, last year while I was on a long distance walking event, a whole chunk of this yellow element of the sole that's kind of glued onto the grey bit underneath fell off, and I glued it back on again. Such is my love for these shoes, and they've been going for about another year since then, so that's all been good. But what has happened interestingly is that rubber and plastic ages over time. It becomes more brittle. So things that would be once had been a kind of stickier, rubbery compound that would have really good grip on the surface that you're running on, these shoes, and it's the first I've ever had that have got to this point, because normally they fail in other areas first. Normally the uppers or the soles coming off or something like that. This is the first where it's happened on this pair, because they've lasted so long. This yellow element that's been kind of coated over the bottom of the shoe used to be a lovely rubbery, grippy compound that was fantastic on pretty much all surfaces for providing grip, but it's not got that rubbery stickiness anymore. It's got almost a sort of shiny, hard plastic finish to it, because those compounds have been aging over time. So I was out on a dog walk on some perfectly dry trails and dry tarmac today, and even on the dry tarmac, they were sliding, which is not really what you want from a pair of shoes. So unfortunately, these have reached the final step towards running shoe heaven, which is as garden shoes, which is a shame because they are still the best and most comfortable, for me at least, pair of running shoes I've ever owned. And of course, as all running companies do, they don't flipping make them anymore, do they? They stopped making them years ago, in fact, rather unfortunately. I should have been better organised and bought myself another pair at the time. But anyway, farewell, my Brooks Pure Grit. See you in the garden. And I'd love to hear if you are you similar to me? Do you have a small emotional attachment to the running shoes, the one that you've had, amazing experiences or a brilliant race or fantastic training runs in? Do let me know. Put me out of my misery. Tell me that I'm not the only one who gets a little bit emotional about these things, and maybe I'll get another couple of years out of these pottering around the garden.